Talk Nerdy is brought to you by its sponsor AT&T, which provides IU students, faculty, and staff with personal cellular services at discounted rates. Talk Nerdy to Me, a conversation about technology's hottest topics at Indiana University and beyond. Welcome to episode 16 of Talk Nerdy to Me, a podcast that continues to be brought to you by a neutral internet. I'm your host, Janae Cummings, and with me as always is the grommet to my Wallace, Brendan Howell, and our sound boss, Joe Stone, and our producer, Keith Danielson. How goes it, gentlemen?
Going pretty well. I like the Wallet and Grommet reference there.
You know, I'm trying to make sure that my sidekick is not, I keep giving you like female sidekick names.
Grommet was the boss in that show, though.
Well, whatever. That's fine. I'm just trying to make you feel better.
All right, I appreciate that.
So we can have a better relationship and everything flows better. So it's been a pretty hopping few weeks since we last got together, and there's been a lot of news, the most important of which was the FCC's vote to enforce net neutrality rules. And since we spent a fair majority of episode 14 reaching a consensus that we had absolutely no idea what net neutrality actually is or what it means, we're going to return to that for a few minutes today, hopefully with a little more knowledge than last time. Agreed?
Yeah.
We're also going to determine the level of our collective paranoia about Vint Cerf's warning that we could enter a digital dark age and how that relates to IU's Media Digitization and Preservation Initiative. And of course, we'll talk to Ross Wilkerson for just the tip from the UITS Support Center about the dazzling subject of Chromecast. Anybody Chromecast?
I have one.
Okay.
Or I had one.
Or had. Oh. On Thursday, the FCC voted on two massive issues, net neutrality, which is officially known as protecting and promoting the open internet, and the limiting regulation states have on networks owned by local governments, also known as municipal broadband. The FCC passed rules on both, meaning big cable has lost and life on the internet continues as we've known it, at least until the inevitable lawsuits are settled and we see how things transpire in Congress. So net neutrality is what we already have. As part of the 3-2 vote, the FCC has ruled that there will be no blocking access to legal content, no throttling traffic, and no paid fast lanes. So does that make net neutrality a solution in search of a problem if we're just maintaining the status quo?
No, I don't think it is. Because if you look back in time to like the 80s, this is like telecommunications has often just naturally has grown into these huge monopolies. And that happened with a company called Bell Telephone. It was one of the largest companies that America has ever seen. If anything, I would say because of that experience of dealing with monopolies in telecommunications earlier, that this is sort of preemptive. But I really think for the people that have their eye on it, it is dealing with something that they see as becoming a problem.
Right. And we also, a couple years ago, like Comcast was in trouble for throttling.
Right, so I think that, and I feel that it's a solution for a problem that's already existed, not like searching for one, because like you said, Comcast did get in trouble for throttling speeds. And AT&T and Verizon have both said, and other companies too have said that they would love to charge for like faster lane access if it was allowed.
Right.
But so I think this is kind of just like saying, no, this is not ever going to happen. So now, since it's like government regulated, then it just kind of puts that problem down. So
Right.
I'm not sure how the companies are going to respond to it. I mean, I'm sure they're all suing right now to kind of overturn all of it. But in the end, I think it's better for everyone, but for consumers at least, for this to stay where it is.
Right. I think what they're doing now, I'm sure they're building their case with their lawyers to file their lawsuits. In the meantime, legislators are trying to rework, I think, the telecom bill or telecom legislation to send that through, which I assume would just be vetoed. And I can't imagine that anything will come of that before the next presidential cycle.
Yeah, I think it's the beginning of a long process.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we'll really see any effects of it until a couple of years from now. So.
Right. So does net neutrality make competition better? Because, I mean, obviously we're dealing with quasi-monopolies at the very least.
I don't think it makes competition better for like the cable companies, but I think it would make it better for, like we talked about last time, startup companies that rely on the internet to kind of get their business off the ground. Mm-hmm. And so if cable companies were blocking them or slowing down access to their website, now that that's not possible or is not allowed, then they can go ahead and operate as usual. Because I mean, like larger companies like Netflix have plenty of money to pay the cable companies to get like unregulated access to their networks. But say you just started your own company and it starts to blow up, and then Comcast all of a sudden wants you to pay all this money to them, you may not have it as a startup company, but you may have it later on. So
Right.
I think that this will kind of help increase competition among new internet companies.
It'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to have more than one option in my area.
Right, and that's kind of what happened with that Bell telephone thing, is that they broke this one giant company up into like at least 7 different companies, like Sprint and a company called MCI, which no one even probably knows
Which
about
I think got
anymore.
absorbed by Sprint.
Probably, yeah, and I think that's the thing, is it naturally, it just, you can divide it up as many ways as you want. It's
They
good
naturally merge
business.
back together. Right. Well, municipal broadband, there are 2 petitions, I think one in like Wilson, North Carolina, and maybe one in Chattanooga, I can't remember the other city, challenging state regulations that they couldn't, that they have broadband in their area and they couldn't expand to like neighboring towns because of state legislation. And it seems that this could help fight against that competition problem. It could make competition better if they're offering great internet in their areas and maybe pushing AT&T or Comcast or Verizon, maybe making them fight a little bit.
But I feel like that's competition with the government, not amongst like different companies. So I don't know how I feel about that, just because I feel like the competition shouldn't be with the government at all.
Well, it wouldn't be the
but
federal government.
the state, though.
Well, this could be municipal. It could be maybe it's a city government.
Well, I guess it could. Yeah, I guess it
They're
could.
fighting
technically.
against state regulations that tell them, no, you cannot do this.
Okay. Well, I guess that in that case, like it would kind of increase, but it's still like with a government regulation. But every city's government is going to be different
Yeah.
from the next. So I guess it does kind of increase competition. There'll be many players in the game. It just depends on where you live at. So.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, to have like, there's a lot of people in Bloomington who like only have one option for internet because of where they live at. So I mean, it would give a lot more people options.
Well, and if you have unserved or underserved areas, that's great. They need some kind of option.
Yeah. I mean, I think that like, say like you have a municipality who's going to put internet in a rural area that Comcast or AT&T otherwise wouldn't, that now gives those people internet, and then Comcast and AT&T may see, oh, well, maybe we should go ahead and put stuff out there too. So we'll increase competition in that aspect as well.
Right.
Like they're missing out on money that they know was there, but they just didn't want to put it in the capital to expand out there. So
Right.
yeah.
Any thoughts, Joe?
I think that there are so many companies, like Brendan was saying, there are so many people who have a stake in having access to the internet that it's an interesting fight to think that only like a few companies control the service of access. So when you have companies like Google who are working towards it, you just mentioned all these companies that are municipal that are trying to deal with it, and then you have even like these more underground companies that are like the Free Network Foundation that are trying to establish their own version, believing that the internet is like a public utility or it's a right.
Right.
And I think New York really showed that too when they put all those Wi-Fi pylons in place of the
sure.
payphones. So
It's another good example.
yeah.
So your question that this would be some kind of state-controlled internet, I think addresses a wider concern that this is like net neutrality is like a federal takeover or something, and that we're forced, like Obamacare, to take this federal net neutral internet, and that's absolutely not the case. I find.
I mean, I think a lot of people are still just confused about like what's going to happen, and so I don't think that anyone would have a real clear understanding of what net neutrality is until they start to see it actually play out.
Right.
And since everything like it was just rolled on Thursday, and then the cable companies are still fighting back, I don't think we're really going to have. You can't have experience or like a real opinion about it until it starts to play out and starts to happen. So.
But I do wonder if people would be upset about municipal broadband in their area. Like somehow, it's not a federal takeover, but somehow my city's still doing something. Your city government is still the government.
But I think it'd be a good and bad thing. For some reason, I think the city internet would be less expensive than AT&T or Comcast internet. So maybe it's there to provide internet services to people who couldn't afford Comcast or AT&T, and then now their kids have internet at home and can do stuff that's educational, things like that they otherwise wouldn't be able to. Or they're going to expand it to areas where they normally couldn't get cable, and they had to get crappy like satellite internet, which is you might as well just use your phone. And so I think that I see good in municipal internet, but obviously someone's gonna have a problem with it. I mean, if you can afford faster internet from like a bigger cable company, then go get them and let everyone else get the city government. So,
Right.
and it's just going to provide revenue for your city, which in turn is going to be better for everyone that lives there. So,
Well, and I think it helps access for kind of weird. I mentioned before underserved, not just areas, but people, like the people who maybe have to go to the library to learn things, to get online and figure things out. And I mean, if those libraries if they can't afford to connect, then you've shut all those people out from educating themselves and participating in, I think, a greater part of our processes.
mm-hmm.
I think that's, definitely where it comes down into something that's a little bit more altruistic to think of as I work on the internet, I learn and study on the internet, we socialize through this system. So to think that we're going to limit, communities, entire communities from having the same access to information that I do.
Yeah.
I think that's...
I see a little good coming from it, so I'm interested to see what happens.
It'll be a turbulent few months, I guess.
I don't know
Where
if it'll
I'm
be
sure
turbulent.
we'll learn again that we don't know anything, and we'll have to come back to this and prove that we've learned something else. So
I've learned a lot since the beginning.
since the beginning, since a couple months ago, we
since our
learned when
last
we knew
ep-
nothing.
Since the last episode.
I think there is some honor to admitting that you know nothing about something.
Yeah,
Just coming out and owning it. I don't
think
know.
everyone's seeking for answers, and so we're all trying to formulate an answer, but everything keeps changing or something else happens, and so.
Well, it's really seemed like, particularly with net neutrality, until like the last couple of weeks, it simply hasn't been clear what is going on. Like in every article I read, it seems like the authors of those articles, the reporters don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
They kind of guess and hint at things, and only now are things starting to, I think, coalesce and make a little more sense.
Well, I think that's because, like, when it first got introduced, it was such a big controversial topic, and then it just disappeared, and then now all of a sudden it showed back up. So.
Well, and I mean, the conversation was, I think, tainted by lobbyists and people with far too many interests, and you didn't know what to believe or what was black was white and up was down and hello was goodbye. Anyway, I think we've come to some manner of conclusion that net neutrality is probably a good thing, but we'll see. Going forward, we'll keep our eye on it, maybe come back to it in the future. In the meantime, before we get on to our main topic of the digital dark age, let's kick things over to Ross Wilkerson for Just the Tip.
Thanks, Janae, and hello again, everyone. This tip is one you could enjoy every day. We're talking about a cool little gizmo called Chromecast. With just the tiniest bit of setup, Chromecast turns your television into a media receiver for every device that lives in or enters your home. Anything you can watch in a browser on your laptop or just about any media app you use in Android or iOS can all be thrown onto your TV with a single click or tap. Think about Netflix, YouTube, Hulu, Pandora, ESPN, or anything like them, plus some games and utility applications on Android and iOS as well. If that sounds decent, let me tell you how to get started. The first step is the worst. Pay Google about $35 for a Chromecast. Just Google it. You can buy in person or online at several retailers. That $35 gets you what looks like a USB flash drive, but that's actually an HDMI connector. That plugs into your TV, and then you'll switch your TV to the same input you plugged Chromecast into. If you're using a laptop with Windows or Mac OS, you'll need to launch Chrome and install the Google Cast extension. iOS and Android users need an app from their respective stores. This app or extension will walk you through the rest of the setup, and it's really, really simple from here on out. Your TV will display a code, you'll confirm your device displays the same code, and then you give Chromecast your local Wi-Fi password. And then you need to decide what to watch first. When you launch an app or visit a website on your device, you'll notice the Cast icon. It's at the top right of Chrome and at various places in mobile apps. Tap Cast, and then that video, song, or whatever's going on will just appear on your TV. Playback continues even if you use your device for something else, so you can still send texts or emails while you're casting. Last selling point, guest mode. If your Chromecast is set up and working, and a friend walks in who also has Chromecast on his phone or laptop, that friend can throw media to your TV exactly the same way you can. You don't even have to give them your Wi-Fi password. I don't know why you wouldn't. That seems fairly rude, but I suppose it saves a few seconds. Bad news for anyone living in campus housing. IU Wireless Networks cannot currently support Chromecast. However, folks in residence halls that do not have IU-provided wireless can operate their own routers and should be able to get that working. Janae, do you Chromecast?
Well, Ross, I do not Chromecast, but maybe I should. I spent $40 gassing up my Jeep today, so surely I can swing the $35 cost. I don't know. What about you guys?
Yeah, I had a Chromecast, but I don't anymore. I got it when it first came out, and I think it was very underdeveloped at that point, and I think now it's definitely a lot better than what it used to be. But when you first got it, like you had to, there were very few apps that actually could use it. It was like Netflix and Google Chrome and Google Play for the most part, and that was it. And so basically how it worked is that you plugged the Chromecast into your TV via HDMI. Like it was an HDMI port, and then you connected it to a Wi-Fi network in your house, and then your phone or your tablet or your computer had to be on that same like network, and then you could stream like whatever was on your phone for these select few apps to your TV. So if you wanted to watch Netflix, you had to use Netflix on your phone and then stream it to your TV. So basically your phone's doing all the work, and your TV's kind of just another display for your phone, essentially.
I don't like that. I
So
hope it's advanced from that.
yeah. I think it's
And
We'll
that sounded-
see. I don't know, Ross. We may have to throw a side eye back to Ross's segment. In any case, so Vint Cerf, who is one of the fathers of the internet, has issued a warning that the digital dark age could be upon us because material, which could include everything from your selfies to PDFs to key historical documents, could be lost forever because programs to view them will become defunct.
I think this subject is amazing, which I could probably talk forever on, so tell me to shut up.
That's fine. I will do that.
So professionally, I am an audio engineer. It's what I've studied to do my entire life. And one of those things I've had to do is to digitize these antiquated analog recordings on reel-to-reel tape. And so I think what Vint Cerf is saying here is kind of a little bit more in the future away from what I do, but taking some of the technology that we've studied, like 5.5-inch floppy disks, and just saying that all these materials, we have almost like an iconoclasm where there will just be this period where, oops, forgot to save all that information, and now it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, he was saying a bit that, down the road, 100 years from now, we could be a forgotten generation. And something he called bit rot, just where old computer files become useless junk because nothing can read them. So he's calling for a, quote, digital vellum to preserve the old software and hardware. I wish I could say things like digital vellum, and people are like, yeah, that sounds, yeah.
That ties in with art history.
Of
really
course,
well.
digital vellum. Of course, she knows exactly what she's talking about. So that, out-of-date files can be recovered no matter how old they are. And, God, I want that now. So, like, the 3.5-inch discs made of plastic, I probably have 2 cases with maybe, like, 10 discs apiece full of stuff from, like, I don't know, probably when I graduated from high school to, like, I don't know, it's maybe, like, a few years ago, like, full of stuff from college and law school and papers and pictures, and, like, there's a whole portion of my life that's missing because they're on these plastic discs that I can't read. I don't have anything to, like, I remember getting my first laptop that had a CD-ROM drive instead of a floppy disk drive, and then all of a sudden those things were just, like, they were just in the wind. Like, what's on them? I don't know, and I'm never going to see them again.
Right.
I mean, I kind of think it was good that those disappeared because they only had like 1.5 megabytes on them. So you
But
really couldn't save anything.
I would love to see the things that are on them. I want them off there, just so I can preserve them somewhere else.
And I was going to say, I think the more important part of this conversation, other than like whether we preserve Janae's old media, is that a lot of our history, we don't really know what we have until all the people that made that history are dead.
Right.
So it's not about the decision that I make about whether I think we definitely got to put that floppy disk in a locker so that
That's very
the kids
important.
200 years from now can read it. It's more about the people 200 years from now being able to look back and go, man, did these people do anything? All I see is this pile of rust.
Yeah, but I feel like at least this time around, like even if it does happen, I don't think it'll be as severe as before. I mean, because everything that we have is like JPEG or Excel or a Word document, and I don't think that there's ever not going to be a program to read items like that. I mean, I know that there are like better like picture formats than JPEG, but I think that there's still going to be programs to read that. Like Microsoft Office now has.
Maybe we hope so, but I think that's the problem is that we may not be planning for that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I feel like, I just feel like it's not still going to be that bad. Like, I mean, yeah, we have a lot of stuff that's on computers now, but I think there's easier ways to preserve that. And I don't think that, like, for instance, now you have all these Google Docs, like you can do like Word, Excel, PowerPoint things all in Google Docs now, but that's built off of basically like the way Excel works too, and you can actually open like an Excel document in Google Docs. And so I don't think that stuff like that's going to disappear. I mean, businesses all use Excel. Like I use Excel every day for work, and I don't think that's going to disappear anytime soon. And yeah, PwC is switching over to using Google for work, but it's like still all the Google Docs stuff is still based off of Excel, and we can export it out to Excel. You can pull stuff into Google Docs and open it right up in there.
But
even
do
in
you
Excel
file
format.
all of your emails in Excel? Like, I was reading an article where Doris Kearns Goodwin was talking about going back, because she wrote those books about Lincoln, the political team of rivals, and how she had to go back and find actual letters to piece together how he put together his campaign and how he ran his presidency and that kind of thing. And if you like, we can't just assume that our emails, that document may be some important process that we don't realize is important at the time in Google Docs, or just assume that, well, it's in my IU account that I keep on Exchange, so I'm gonna have it forever. Like I don't think that tracks very well.
Not at all.
But I mean, like, an email is an email. Like, if it's not an email file, like when it's in like your Gmail, that's not something like an email file you can save. Now, if it's in like Microsoft Outlook, yeah, that's a .msg file. So you can save those, but if it's in like your Gmail account, like you can't do anything about that. It's either there or it's not. You delete it or it stays there for forever until you delete it. I have a Gmail account that I got like back when you had to be invited to use Gmail,
Yeah,
and
so
the
do I.
mail that's there is still there.
Yeah, but can we assume? I feel like we're going back to a place where we were with AI, when I just think it's a little naive to think that just because it's there now, and technology evolves so quickly. I think we could possibly evolve ourselves away from some of these file types, I guess, from being able to keep up with them and converting them and making sure that they're keeping pace with us. You just kind of forget about some stuff.
Oh.
So I think avoiding the digital dark age is just important, in that we are focusing on these things now, not just assuming that things are just going to exist.
Yeah, and like I don't disagree with that there. I just think that it won't be as severe considering everything is digital now versus the things that you guys are dealing with now are physical.
That's a good point.
That's a good
So,
point. I do think, I don't know, I think there's some manner of irony that we turn to digital technology to preserve all these things, and we might lose them.
Right.
Like, we
Solar
throw
flare.
all of our pictures and all of our stuff on there. I was talking to my dad the other day. He was sending me all these pictures on his phone, or to my phone. I was like, "Are you scanning stuff?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm putting them on a DVD." And I was like, "Dad, what? Like, where do you even I don't even think I own DVDs anymore." And he's putting them on a DVD so we can not access them in like 3 years. He doesn't even own a DVD player, my dad. He has no idea what's going on. So, I mean, I just think this kind of stuff is happening everywhere. People are like, yeah, I'm going to get it on that CD. I'm going to get it on that thumb drive, and everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think it comes to that point. It's like it's obvious that this is an awareness of a perpetual path, keeping up to date with the formats. I don't know. We're going to lose some of it no matter what.
No, we will. We will. But hopefully we don't lose in the important stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're not 150 years from now going, oh, well, how did that happen? How did that process work? And they don't have any idea because it was in Gmail, and Gmail isn't a thing anymore, and we didn't actually transfer those files to whatever new format replaced Gmail, which is going to be replaced. They can't make any money on it. But that's a different topic. I think they'll get rid of Gmail soon.
But there's like corporations and universities that pay to have their email go through there, like IU, for instance.
Yeah, but IU also preserves things elsewhere. It simply uses Gmail as, I don't know, almost like it's your IU email is saved elsewhere. It comes in through Exchange, and then you can also use email. You can also use Umail or Gmail to access it. But it's not like Gmail isn't the only source of your email. It's not the only place to find it.
Fair enough. Well, like for our PwC email, when we switch to Google, it's going to be like at like googlemail.com. So there's no Exchange involved in there for ours. There's like now we have Lotus Notes for our email, so everything's saved there. So I don't know. I feel like Google makes so much money everywhere else that they don't really need to worry about Gmail as much. But like I don't know, it could disappear in a couple of years. So only time will tell. But
I think they are worried about making money everywhere. If it's not making money, it doesn't need to exist.
Well,
I
they
mean,
love to spend it.
Otherwise, Google Reader would still exist, and Google Reader was awesome.
And I think that we'll be better prepared for this digital dark age that's coming, though. So
No, absolutely. I don't think it's going to be a total dark age, but I just think that we need to be aware that there are some issues, that there are some preservation problems that we need to address.
yeah.
And keep an eye on.
I think it gives us a really good kind of awareness of who we are and where we stand in the present. Have you guys heard of the Library of Alexandria?
That burned down and burned away all of our progress.
Yeah.
Unless
all
you
history.
cater to Nicolas Cage's National Treasure movies, in which case they save those archives and put them with the treasure.
But
The
Brendan-
the Templars save them, and so we have all of the.
But Brendan wouldn't know anything about that. He doesn't watch movies.
That's right. You don't want, especially with Nicolas Cage.
I've watched one of the National Treasure movies, but I don't remember that many details from it. But I've seen one.
I will watch National Treasure, as horrible as it is, every single time. Every time.
All I remember is the Declaration of Independence.
I think
Over and
because
over
they
and
say
over.
it like
50 times.
Yeah,
maybe.
probably more than that. All right. Well, with that, I bring episode 16 of Talk Nerdy to me to a close. If you have any questions, feedback, or want to say hi, you can reach out to us online at talknerdy.iu.edu, on Twitter at talknerdyiu, and via email at nerdy@iu.edu. On behalf of Brendan, Ross, and Joe, this is Janae Cummings. Thank you for listening. We'll see you again in April with special guest, IU student Liam Bowling.
Say goodbye. The first thing is the dawn.
This has been an official production of the IT Communications Office. Copyright 2015, the Trustees of Indiana University.